Storytime about my psychotic ex-girlfriend. So a little background information. I was 22 years old and I was working and I had started dating this girl who we're going to call Maddie. And she told me that before we got together, she had been involved in a relationship with a minor, which kind of threw me off, but I decided to look past it. But I found it a little bit sus that she was still going to bonfires that were being thrown by high schoolers. But that's besides the point. Now, both her and I's families were not wealthy at all, but she ended up telling me that she was pregnant, so my family and I let her move in with us. From day one, my family tried warning me about this girl. They were like, yeah, Maddie leaves the house dressed provocatively. We just think it's weird that she's pregnant and she's not going out with you whenever she's dressed like this. Well, whenever my family told me about her leaving dressed like that, I called her, and she was claiming that she went to go and visit a family member. Later on, I found out that she was trying to cheat on me. After this caused us to have tons of arguments. This is whenever I realized this girl was psycho. My mom had offered to drive her and I to her ultrasound appointment, like for part 2. Storytime about my psycho ex-girlfriend. So like I said, the one day my mom offers to drive us to her ultrasound appointment, so her and my mom come and pick me up, and my girlfriend Maddie's acting super strange. So my mom and I, we ask her, like, do you not want to go? Like, do you want to leave? And she's like, no, everything's fine. And then whenever we get to her appointment, so my mom and I are waiting in the waiting room. And then all of a sudden, 6 police officers rush into the doctor's office, and they're all standing around me with their hands on their guns. And they said that they were told by Maddie that I was holding her against her will. That wasn't true. So when my mom explained to them what was going on, they let me go. But then later I found out that Maddie had called her mom asking her to call the cops just to say that, so that way she would be able to leave. Because she was tired of dating me. So at this point, I'm like, whatever. Fast forward, she has the baby. And then she calls me and tells me that it's mine. Let me tell y'all something. She was pregnant way before her and I even started dating. Like for part 3. Part 3 about my psychotic ex. So like I said, the police pull up and then my mom tells them what actually happened, and we're like, all right, we're done with this. So fast forward, when the kid's born, she texts me and she's like, yo, the baby's yours. And I'm like, no, it's not. Because I'm going to be honest, y'all, she got pregnant way before her and I even got together. And if the baby was mine and she had it whenever she did, that baby would literally have came out without like nose, eyes, anything. So then she starts pulling me into a bunch of drama. She uses this guy to try and scare me. And he's like, oh, you're a deadbeat dad. I'm going to come and I'm going to F you up. And then I start getting mail at my house from her. One of them was from CPS. And then another one was that she had a warrant out for her arrest. So fast forward, I end up getting married to my wife, who I love so much. And she's still trying to start stuff with me. Y'all, this is 6 years after that whole situation. She keeps reaching out to my wife, trying to be friends with her. Also trying to tell her that that kid is mine because we have the same temper issues. It's just ridiculous.
My 7-year-old son comes home and casually tells me, Mama, 2 of my camp counselors are bullying me. I put him in a STEM camp. I'm paying a pretty penny to have him there for the week. And he comes home and he tells me that these 2 camp counselors, who are in their late teens, early 20s, are university students helping at this camp, are saying to him, oh, you're a Temu boy and your Jordans are fake, and oh, haha, look at your big gold chain. So my 7-year-old son, he's got a lot of swag, okay? He's very into fashion. What he wears, there's thought that goes into it. He picks his outfit out the night before. He wears a big, thick double chain. It's gold and gaudy, and he looks like he should be in a rap video. There's a tiger on it. He wears a gold bracelet. So he's a snazzy, flashy little boy. But I couldn't believe that these camp counselors are picking on my 7-year-old son, making fun of his style, pretending that what he's wearing is fake. So you bet Mama Bear came out. My head frickin' spun 360 degrees. I walked in there and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? How old are these camp counselors? How old are you guys? Because I'm pretty sure my son is 7 years old. Why the hell are you commenting on what he looks like? Why are you concerned with what he is wearing? Do your freaking job. Make sure my kid is having fun, and don't ever, ever, ever comment on what he's wearing. I was so freaking pissed, because if you mess with my kid, you are messing with me. I couldn't believe that I even had to have this conversation. Like, how are adults picking on a child? I scared the hell out of them. They said sorry profusely. And now my son is as happy as a clam. Moral of the story, he ain't changing his style. He's not changing who he is. But those camp counselors will think twice before they comment on any other child, because a mom like me will come after them.
Last night, John and I go out to this bar and we're meeting up with two of his friends. They came like solo. So it was just John and I were the only couple. And the whole time that we're at this bar, there's like a group of girls that are just looking at John's guy friend. They wind up buying them a round of shots and then the girls come over. And we just start, introducing ourselves. Like obviously they're flirting with John's two guy friends. But one girl comes right up to John and I and she's like, oh my gosh, you guys are the cutest couple. Like, how did you guys meet? Start telling her the short version of how we met. Starts to ask what you guys do. Like, where do you guys live? Small talk. John proceeds to tell her, I own a jewelry company. And she's like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And he's, talking me on. I noticed that while she's talking to me, she has now moved herself in between John and I. So John says to me over her shoulder, he want another drink. And I pretend that I really can't hear him because she's in the way. So I stand up and kind of nudge my way around her so that I can be back closer to him so that she could be on the opposite side of him. Now I'm standing like leaning up against John. She's like, how did you know that he was the one? She was like, I'm still single and I've just tried absolutely everything. And I just think that there's something wrong with men in this entire city. John gets up to go to the bathroom and now it's just her and I, and her friends are totally hitting it off with John's friends. So I didn't want to be rude and not continue to talk to her. And we start talking about topics that we're both interested in. So I'm starting to think, okay, like maybe she's like really cool. And the bartender comes up to me like, do you want to order a drink? And I was like, no, I'm okay. He looks at her, do you want to order another drink? And she goes like, yeah. And he looks at me, he's like, am I putting it on the tab? And I just said no, because it's John's tab. And she starts telling me how I'm so lucky to have a guy like John, how he's so generous and so nice and all these things. And that's when I started being like, okay, like, what do you want me to say? I'm like, I know, he's awesome. He's amazing. She's like, and he seems like he's so funny. He has so much energy. Yeah, like I agree with you. John gets back from the bathroom. She starts telling him, I was just telling her, oh, she's so lucky to have you. John just like looks at me. He's like, yeah. He's like, well, I'm super lucky to have her. She's like, you guys are both so lucky to have each other. And she says that she just puts her hand like right on his chest. So we kind of both know between each other that she's maybe just a little bit too flirty and maybe she's had one too many drinks, but it's starting to feel just a little bit uncomfortable with the over complimenting and like the touching of his chest, being in the middle of him the whole time. John says, hey babe, would you like to go sit at the lounge? We're really trying not to be rude. He doesn't want to ruin his friend's night and his chances with her friends. He was just like, we're going to go sit over in the lounge. Nice to meet you. We're just going to go and do our own thing and maybe you can go find someone else at the bar. Tell me why we are sitting in the lounge area. We have our drinks. We're just talking and she gets another drink and comes and sits on the other side of John. So now John is in the middle of both of us. Hey, do I need to say something? I don't want to be that woman insecure. And I could have sat on the side of me. He literally sat up and moved over more to me. She continued to lean towards him and he goes, okay, I'm going to go to the bar with my friends. You guys have a good time talking. I see John at the bar closing out and I say to her, we're going to go to like another place. Like it was nice to meet you. By the time I get up there, he's signing the tab and I see that there's 2 extra drinks on the tab. So the bartender comes over and he was like, yeah, when you guys went over to the lounge, she told me that I could put the 2 drinks on your tab. I asked the bartender, I'm like, wait, she said that I said it was okay to put those drinks on our tab. And he was like, yeah. I go up to her. She's still sitting in the lounge. And like, you put those 2 drinks on our tab. And I said that you couldn't do that. I was like, you're going to have to tell me. He was like, oh, like I thought that you said yes. Like I thought it wasn't really that big of a deal because I know that you guys had bought shots for like my friends. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Blah, blah. I was like, I literally said no. And John is standing there. He looks at her. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he was like, okay, so you have been making Ebony and I feel uncomfortable. And I didn't want to be rude because I know that your friends are hanging out with my friends. He was like, but nice to meet you. We're going to go. We go up to John's friends at the bar and we tell them that we're going to go to this other spot. His 2 guy friends were like, okay, cool. Like, but they really liked her friends. So they wanted them to come. And John was like, we'll just go separately. She tells her friends, this girl is so weird. She's getting like super protective over her man. I literally forgot that I left out an entire part. So I went to the bathroom after John got back from the bathroom and he told me, I told her when you were in the bathroom, just gotta chill. Like, I know that you're just like being friendly. What made you feel like you needed to say that to her? He was like, she's just a little bit too friendly. She seemed like she had a little bit too much to drink. And he was like, I don't really need any problems tonight. Now we've left this bar and John and I are walking to the next place. We're walking with his friend and the 2 other girls. Tell me why she runs up to John on the other side of me and grabs his hand, like literally grabs his hand and starts walking with him. I was like, are you okay? John rips his hand away. He was like, you're out of line. He was like, that's it. He was like, we're done. We're going to go. I'm just in her face. I'm like, you're not understanding. She is literally telling me that I'm insecure. And that whole thing that I didn't want, which was to be like fighting in a bar in the street with another woman, is exactly what happened.